Counter-Strike really only has two official game modes that remain similar across all of its mainline titles, Hostage and Defuse, the latter being the most popular of course. But did you know that there was actually a third game mode that was cut during the earlier betas of CS? A game mode that plays very differently when compared to the Hostage and Defuse modes we know today. Today let's take a look at the maps made for Counter-Strike's forgotten game mode, Assassination. I'll provide a brief explanation of the Assassination game mode before we get started, just for those who aren't aware of it yet. Assassination puts the CTs in charge of a VIP who they are to bring to an extraction zone while the Ts try to stop them along the way. The VIP is a player equipped with only a pistol but has special armor that has 200 points. However, the VIP doesn't have the option to buy any more weapons or equipment due to the money that they start with. For this reason, they must rely heavily on their team to keep them safe and make sure they make it to the extraction zone in one piece. So with all that out of the way, let's take a look at the maps. There are a total of 7 maps made for the game mode, however only one of them was technically shipped with a Counter-Strike game. Oil Rig was first seen in Beta 6.0 and made it all the way to Counter-Strike's 1.6 release. I've mentioned Oil Rig in a previous video, so I won't mention it here again. If you're curious to see Oil Rig and more forgotten maps, you should check out the first 2 parts on my channel. First up we have Forest, designed by John Attia, also the creator of the map Final Option that I spoke about in my last video. The map takes place in a forest where the CTs were forced to make an emergency landing as their helicopter was damaged, and the Ts are trying to assassinate the official that was in the helicopter. The CTs spawn near a waterfall while the Ts spawn in a nearby area with a few buildings. There are 2 extraction zones for the VIP. One is by a gate guarded with 2 turrets, and the other is by the helicopter on the roof near T spawn. This map is pretty large all things considered, with many different laneways, twists and turns, many of which don't seem to serve any purpose due to the spawn layout. Nevertheless, I really like the atmosphere of the map and it gives off the early FPS custom map vibe, especially the low bitrate jungle ambience in the background. Despite its cool atmosphere though, the map was cut from Counter-Strike's Beta 6.8 release and never made a return, although it did remain a favorite amongst fans for its aesthetic, even with its poor balancing. High Rise is a relatively small nighttime assassination map taking place in the uppermost level of a large building. Developed by Pantera, also known as Matt S., the map is located in an unspecified city where the Ts are attempting to assassinate the VIP following a political event. The map is pretty small all things considered, consisting of only a few medium to large sized rooms and an open rooftop area. Despite this though, the map's layout is somewhat confusing as the rooms look quite similar to one another. Pantera was still in high school at the time, and he had stated in an interview that he made the map in just 2 weeks, claiming that in hindsight the map was pretty simple overall. He also stated in the same interview that the map wasn't very popular, and on top of that, he thought Gooseman didn't really like the map too much anyway. This is probably what ultimately led to the map being removed after Counter-Strike's 1.0 release. I also found it interesting when reading through the creator's now archived interviews from around 2000, where he goes on to state that Counter-Strike is finished following the game's 1.0 release and Valve's acquisition, hoping that they would make a Counter-Strike 2 at some point. If only he knew. Riverside was an official assassination map featured in Beta 6.0 and made by the mapper Zaka from Finland. The map presumably takes place somewhere in Europe where SEAL Team 6 is tasked with protecting a prominent European businessman who is the target of a group of Ts. It features many open laneways leading to the community, giving it an obvious label for being tremendously unbalanced, especially when there is a few Ts guarding a wide open pass with some snipers. The map also features a drivable boat that can fit multiple players, although the boat is loud and traveled on a scripted path, so it didn't seem to even the odds for the CTs at all. Although the map layout is pretty strange and unbalanced, as with most of these maps, I do like the aesthetic quite a bit. It almost reminds me of a mixture between Venice in Italy and Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Despite its interesting concept though, the map was removed for Beta 6.1 and was never seen again after that. Released in Beta 6.5, Tundra is easily one of the most recognizable maps on the list, despite the fact it was made for the Assassination game mode. Designed by David Marsh, who also created CS_Estate mentioned in my previous video, as well as a few other maps too. The map takes place in Alaska, where security has been breached at a covert weapons deal. The Ts have stolen the weapons and are now trying to take out the VIP. It's a fairly wide open design, but provides significant cover for both sides and is considered to be one of the more balanced official maps made for the mode. After its initial release, Marsh would go on to update the map, adding small details as well as adding a complete new addition to the underground tunnel system. AS Tundra was actually originally titled AS Desert, but its creator switched the theme over to snow due to the abundance of desert-themed maps present in the game. Many of you have mentioned this in the comments of the previous videos, so that is proof enough to me of its legacy. Even with its popularity though, Tundra was removed after Counter-Strike 1.5 and, unfortunately, Oil Rig would take its place instead as the sole assassination map to make it into Counter-Strike's retail release. Interestingly enough though, Tundra is the only cut map to be featured in the game's official screenshots on its Steam page, which are still up there to this day. Lastly, we have the only 2 assassination maps officially in development for Condition Zero. Death's Town is a map made by Ritual Entertainment during their time in the development of Condition Zero. The map takes place in a desert environment with an unspecified story and was originally planned for Condition Zero as well as Counter-Strike's Xbox port. The design of the map is actually quite fleshed out even though it was cut from the game, and I'm surprised that parts of the map weren't repurposed for a map based on the defuse or hostage game mode. Not much is known about Death's Town, and although it was never technically released, the map was first seen when Condition Zero was partially leaked alongside the infamous Half-Life 2 hack back in 2002, which is probably why we are able to access the map files online to this day. Lastly, and well, kinda least, we have Hangar, a cut map designed by Gearbox Software during their time working on Condition Zero. This is the only map on the list without a playable version as the map was cut during development. The only thing that exists of it is the map's thumbnail shown on the screen, and a few old websites mentioning it and speculations about the map rotation during development. The only information about the map that I could find was that it took place, of course, around a hangar and the landscape was pretty wide open, making it difficult for CTs to protect the VIP. Other than that, I'm afraid there isn't much more information I can provide on it. So now you know about the maps of Counter-Strike's forgotten assassination game mode. Which is your favorite, and which map do you wish was officially featured in Counter-Strike? Let me know in the comments below. I'll also put a poll up on my channel's community page so everyone can vote and we'll see which one is the most popular. That's all for now. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing and giving the video a like. Thanks for watching.